Today I thought I'd show you how to make gluten-free mini pork pies. Now these are so simple to make, there's literally no mess, and that is all thanks to one of these. You make them in a muffin tray, which just means that it's so much easier, like so much easier. Now these pork pies have a buttery, golden, flaky pastry, and they've got a really like meaty, porky center, and honestly, so good. Like, you can have them cold, you can have them warm with a little bit of relish, you could just have them any old time. Basically, whenever you have one, you'll be like, oh my god, this honestly cannot be gluten-free. If you give it to someone else, they will not believe it's gluten-free. It tastes that good. Like, honestly, you will not know the difference. And if you're someone like me who hasn't had stuff like this in a very long time, because I've been gluten-free for absolutely ages, then this is just one of those hooray, amazing, yeah moments. The full recipe for these pork pies is in my book, How to Make Anything Gluten-Free, which I will link below. And without further ado, let me show you the ingredients, and then we can get on with making them, because then that means we're closer to eating them. Okay, so I've got all my ingredients here. I'll just run through them quickly. I've got some streaky bacon, which I've chopped up into little cubes. I've got my pork mince, which these two obviously are for the filling, as is all of this. So I've got some black pepper, some salt, some ground nutmeg, and some sage. So those are my flavourings for this. And then also I've got some egg wash, which will be for the top of the pastry. And of course, I've got my pastry, which this is my own hot water crust pastry, which there is a video for, which I will link below, so that you can make that. It's really simple, doesn't take long. And that's what it looks like, big old block there. So that's literally all the ingredients that you'll need. So let's get making some pork pies. Okay, so first things first, I've got my pork mince, I've got my bacon, and I've got all my seasoning, and I'm just gonna put that all in this bowl, mix it all together, and then just pop it in the fridge to keep nice and chilled. I'm gonna cover it as well, and that's gonna go in there whilst I sort out my pastry. So that's literally the filling done. Okay, so I've got my hot water crust pastry out of the fridge. It's nice and cold. I'm just gonna flour my surface and also flour my rolling pin, so that then I can put this on the surface and it won't stick or anything like that. It's quite good in terms of not being sticky because it's quite an oily dough, but always worth flouring. So here's my dough, and I'm just going to knead it for about a minute, just sort of to get it, you know, it's been cold in the fridge, so I'm just giving it a bit of work, just for about a minute. And then once that minute's over, I'm gonna cut kind of about a third of this off, because that's gonna be used for the tops of the pies, and we're gonna work on the bases of the pork pies first. Okay, so I'm gonna cut a third of the dough off, about a third, can't really tell. And then I'm gonna put this to one side. I'm gonna wrap it in my cling film again, just so that it doesn't dry out. Really important to do so. Okay, so with the remaining dough, this is gonna be rolled out to form our bases of our pork pies. So I'm gonna flour the surface again so that it's not sticky at all. If there is a bit of sort of dough from when I was kneading it, I'm gonna brush that off. And then I am going to get my rolling pin. I've got this on about 2 to 3 millimeters thickness, which is what we're gonna roll it out to. So yeah, we're gonna roll that out to that amount, and then I'll show you what sort of cutter we need and what size cutter we need as well. Okay, so cutters wise, I've got these two. This is for my base, it's about 10 centimeters across, and this is for the tops. This is more like 9 centimeters. Basically, the reason that you need them this size is because, and the reason is that we're going to be using this. So it's a cupcake / muffin tin. So this is the right size to make them so that it goes not only the base, but up the edges. And then this one will be perfect for covering them. So that is why, and also I have greased this with some of the lard that I had left over. So you could use lard or butter, just so that they don't stick. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out using the round side as many as I can, and I'll probably have to re-roll it because obviously you get bits around the edges, which is absolutely fine. You can re-roll this as much as you want to, but yeah, just try and get as many with this as you can. Okay, so I've got my first lot of pastry circles, like the base is ready. They can look a bit rough around the edges. The pastry is really solid and really easy to work with. So now I'm just gonna press them into my little holes, and I'll push them in, and hopefully what I'm going to aim for is to have a little bit of an overhang around the edge of each one, because then when we put the filling in and we put the lid on, then we can kind of try our best to sort of crimp it together, which isn't just for pretty purposes, it's also to make sure that the filling stays in. So yeah, just get a little bit of the base and try and get it so that it's just over the top. That's why we made them with such a big cutter that seems much bigger than it, so that we have that little bit extra. Okay, so as you can see, I filled all my holes with my pastry. There's a little bit of overhang on each of them. Sometimes it's a bit thinner, sometimes a bit thicker. It just depends, and as you can see, it doesn't have to look perfect. So I'm going to put this to one side just for a second, and then I'm going to roll out the rest of my dough and use my slightly smaller cutter to make the lids. And then we can start to fill our pork pies and assemble them and cook them. Okay, so now it's time to fill our pies. So I've got my pastry cases here all ready, and I'm going to fill these basically like almost to the very top with the mixture that we made earlier. And then what we're going to do is, before we put our lids on, we're going to egg wash around the edge with a little pastry brush, just so that the tops will properly stick to them. Okay, so now that everything is egg washed, I'm going to take my lids and I'm going to place them onto each one of these, and then just crimp the edge really carefully with a fork. Try and be careful not to touch the other ones as you're doing it, because you don't want to kind of like disturb them. But, you know, as I said, it's a rustic pie. Just the main thing is that we're crimping them and pushing them together tightly so that the delicious pork pie filling doesn't escape in the oven. Okay, so these are all almost ready. They're looking so good. But the last thing we need to do is egg wash them all once more with some egg. And this will just help it to have a nice golden colour when it comes out. And then the final thing is I'm going to get a sharp knife like this one, and I'm just going to do a little sort of score to make a tiny little hole in the middle, which will just help. And it looks like a pork pie then. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then we'll put them into the oven. So these are now ready to go into the oven. My oven has been preheating to 200 degrees C fan, and they're going in for 35 minutes. But after 20 minutes, we're going to reduce that temperature to 160 degrees C fan, and then they'll just cook until they're lovely and golden and all the meat is nicely cooked. And yeah, I'm just desperate to put these in because I kind of fancy a pork pie now. So see you on the other side. So I've just taken these out the oven. And don't they look amazing? Lovely golden top. Like, they smell so good. This house smells incredible. So, too hot to touch at the moment, so I'm gonna let these cool down, and then I'll get them out and I can show you one. Because, I mean, I know you can't taste them, but once you see them properly, I mean, once you see them like this, surely you wanna make them as well, right? I told you that was simple and I wasn't lying, but if you'd like to make a gluten-free quiche, then click up here. And if you'd like to just know how to make gluten-free short crust pastry in the most easiest way in the whole entire world, then click up here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!